Welcome to Module 1.3, Owners, Officers and Operatives. This comes from the Interreg Italia-Malta I Know project. And all the materials have been developed here at the Centre for Entrepreneurship and Business Incubation at the University of Malta. We're in the first track of this programme, and this is the Introduction to Entrepreneurship track, and we're on 1.3. Fundamental concepts then. There are only three types of people within any enterprise: owners, officers and operatives. Of course, a sole trader, a person working on their own, may be all three types at the same time. The common forms of business entity are broken down into four types: a sole trader, a partnership, the limited liability company and the cooperative. It's possible to build a technology venture using any of the four business types, but the limited liability company is the most common form used. Who's responsible for what? Well, we identify a further three O's: objectives, operations and outcomes. The owners are certainly responsible for objectives. They may not necessarily be responsible for operations or outcomes. Officers, for example, directors of a company, are responsible for all three, whereas operatives, the people who do the work within the company, are not responsible for objectives or operations, but they're certainly responsible for outcomes. In terms of managing owners then, the founders, it's common for a founder of a technology company to bring in an experienced individual to act as managing director. This is usually helpful since many founders like the relevant experience even if they have technical know-how. The best way to manage the founder-owner is through agreement via an approved business plan with agreed milestones and associated cash flow forecast or business budget. But clear rules must be agreed that define how and when the business plan and budget can be changed. Investors are people who are also classed as owners. They don't necessarily start the company, but they buy shares in the company against a business plan and cash flow forecast. Investor influence can be controlled by a document called a shareholder agreement, and the investors sign this at the time of investment. And in fact, all people who own shares in the company would sign at the beginning, and then if further shares are issued and the shareholder agreement changes, and they sign a version of that later on. And this maintains the way of owners' control throughout the history of the company. In terms of officers, some of these may be founders who take on a role that reports to the managing director, but they must understand that they cannot operate as a sole trader and do what they want. So there are ground rules that are required. Otherwise, the founder will often try to act as managing director, which can be disastrous. Using the business plan and the budget as the main tools are critical. Managing operatives then, the people who work for you, the basics. The managing director may not manage operatives directly, but do so via line managers, intermediaries, heads of department and so forth. The managing director, or MD, can always review approved job descriptions and task lists drafted by the line manager before they're put in place, but should not try to manage operatives directly, as this can undermine the authority of the line manager. Bear in mind that in terms of operatives, there are critical and non-critical. Some operatives may be critical for the business. They may have a particular skill or experience set that would be hard to replace. They don't necessarily qualify for senior management roles, but it doesn't mean that the managing director may wish to bind them to the business with incentives. But the MD should avoid managing non-critical staff directly, but do that via their line managers. Owners have some clear requirements from any business, from any enterprise. They want to see a return on investment, that may be cash investment or time. They want retention of ownership share. They want tax-effective returns on investment, and they want protection, where possible, from personal liability. Inventors, if they're involved, they come up with an idea which forms the basis of a new company, and they want to see the development of their new product or service get to the market. But often, the inventor's control diminishes over time. There has to be a return on investment in terms of time and or finance, and inventors too, if they hold shares in the company, want tax-effective return on investment, and also protection from personal liability. Lenders have a different set of requirements. They want security on the loan, a return of the capital, sale of ancillary products, for example, insurance, pension schemes and so forth, and to see a growth in market share in the banking sector. Investors, very straightforward, they want a return on investment and in particular a growth in capital value. That requires an exit strategy so that their shares are sold when the company is sold, and they want to consider that their investment is as safe as possible. Managers have different requirements. They want to be rewarded for success, and some of that reward can be through gaining experience, which enhances their skills. They may also enjoy new challenges, and often with new skills and new experience, they can progress to higher levels within organisations, not necessarily the same one. In conclusion, key to success for the new venture is to have the following 5 things in place. Number 1, a business plan and associated cash flow forecast. Number 2, a shareholder agreement or partnership agreement, including clarity over when and how officers are allowed to deviate from the plan. Number 3, clear job descriptions for all employees. Number 4, project plans with clear milestones identified over time. And number 5, work plans for all employees drawn from those project plans. Management processes must be in place to monitor and report, usually on a monthly basis. This is the end of the presentation, and in the lecture format, here's where we take any questions, but for now, thank you for watching.